I shot this buck on November 23rd of 2020, and it is by far my biggest deer ever. I mean, he's a giant, and he's even bigger than what I remember from those days. It's early July. I just got this mount back. It's actually the first deer I've ever had mounted, so I'm super stoked. We're going to show you the hunt breakdown of this here in a little bit, but right now I want to talk about the mount a little bit and maybe talk about the deer a little bit as well. Of course, I'm just kind of taken back by the size of this thing. You know, huge neck, big head, and I remember whenever I walked up on him, because I didn't get to see him for long, right? I walked up on him and I was like, well, what sticks out about this deer? Of course, the mass is good, you know, pretty decent main beam length, but his brow tines, I think, like, now that I see him here, his brow tines really stand out to me. Just long, bladed brow tines. If you hunt public land very much, especially if you film, you'll realize that you don't actually spend a lot of time with these deer while they're alive. I mean, they're hardly in your lives at all. Like, you don't have the trail camera footage usually, or like that multiple encounter type situation. Like this deer, I think all of like probably 25 seconds from when I grunted to whenever I shot him. You know, it was just no time. So I didn't have a lot of poses or ways that I remember him. I got him mounted in a quarter turn semi-upright, which is a pretty standard form, but it really does kind of capture what I remember, because this is the exact pose he was in when I took my shot. He came in right to me about 12 yards, maybe 11 yards from the base of my tree, and then turned, and I took my shot as soon as he turned. And I shot him kind of high in the shoulder right here, exited low out the liver. This is kind of the exact pose. He was looking away, I drew and shot. So it does remind me of that situation. And that's what mounts are supposed to do. They're supposed to bring back all those good memories that you can share with your family. So I'm excited to get this thing hung in my house so me and my family can just admire it and just kind of think about how cool God's creation is and how cool these creatures are that he put here for us to hunt and to enjoy. But now let's go check out the hunt breakdown and see what happened in November with this big guy. The morning of this hunt, I spent a lot of time driving and confirming that I wanted to hunt places, talking to game wardens, all kinds of stuff. Okay, and I actually stalked a buck and rattled in a buck to 2 yards, which is beat my previous record by 1 yard, which is pretty cool. But so if you want to watch that, we'll link down to that video below. It's pretty sweet as well. But I decided to go in early and make sure I had plenty of time to get into this property, because I was going to go pretty far in. But we'll just go ahead and roll it and watch this hunt, because it is pretty sweet, if I could be so bold, I suppose. So those little single steps right there is what I used all season. I really like those things quite a bit. I probably will use them this year, but I also might mix in some those.
Do they still sell those?
Depends on the day, man. Yeah. I think they have copyright issues with them. But
they were cheap. They're a pretty good solution.
We have the exact opposite too, with some really lightweight but very expensive sticks that we're gonna try out too. I think so. It's cold. I mean, it's like 245.
On the way in, especially the first quarter mile, and then not that it dried up, but it's just not as heavy or thick. So I don't really know what that's all about.
You were kind of a little down on this spot talking to you.
I was.
Like you're like, man, I passed up a lot of good sign to get here.
I did.
You're way back, right?
0.97.
Woo!
That's pretty far.
That's pretty far.
Yeah, and that's straight line distance on the Onyx thing too. So I didn't like the spot a ton with sign, but it's set up really good for deer with food and cover, and just, it's a good spot.
You're close to a creek crossing?
Yeah,
right?
I was close to a creek crossing, which I didn't really confirm that whenever I was in the tree, but I saw maps, or I'm sorry, I saw trails in person and on the map that made me think there was a creek crossing down there. You know, they're not going to go perpendicular to a creek unless there's a crossing down there. Right? You can see the food there on the ag, on private. And I mean, this is just, that's deer cover, man. Look at that stuff. And what's crazy is that I didn't really see a lot of deer. I didn't even see deer out in that wheat field, which I thought I would, you know. I guess I blind grunted some because I was getting impatient because I hadn't seen a deer all afternoon. And I was like,
what time is it?
Like, I think it's like 4:45 right here.
Really?
Yeah.
You can tell it's getting a little bit darker.
Yeah. Well, it's a real heavy overcast day too, so that good light, deer light, you know, lasted for quite a while. This was to no avail. Nothing happened. It was real windy. You can see the trees moving. You know, the wind doesn't pick up in the audio too much, but
I mean, it was probably blowing 20 pretty consistently, 15 to 20 all day. And I just feel like when it's windy like that, especially out in that grass, man, there's so much noise. Deer can't hear nothing. I saw a possum lifting my spirits.
Poking young looking possum right there. Did you give him a Pop-Tart?
Nutrigrain bar,
There you
or Nature Valley. Crunchiest. See, that's also a windy day snack because they're the loudest thing you can eat in the woods.
All parts of that snack are loud.
Yeah. The tree I set up in was kind of weird. Oh, golly. Anyways, I was set up in kind of a pretty small little cottonwood, but it's just the right spot, man. First deer I saw.
How far is he?
180 yards, 100 or 200 yards. I think I'm at range of those cedars at 180.
He's like, oh.
He heard the grunt.
It's amazing, dude.
It is.
You know, we've talked about this, but like, you know, the way that our microphones work in the wind is they have these little fuzzy things that break up the wind before it hits the mic capsule, right?
Ooh.
Do deer's ears do the same thing
Yeah.
in the wind? You know, like that's a question I've always had.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
When you were grabbing your bow when he's 180 yards out, that's a good feeling.
He's coming.
He's coming.
This ain't.
He's already
ain't,
licking. You see he's licking his nose and stuff. He's like, I'm going to go see what's
got his
going
ear
on.
back, man.
He's a fighter, man.
Is his ear broken?
I don't
Or is he
think
just-
so. I think
he's
it's
just-
windy and
Yeah, he's just ready to.
yeah,
whoop.
he's already mad. See, his ears working pretty good.
Yeah.
Sorry about the autofocus stuff. It's just what you got to do when you self-film. But he goes down into the creek right there, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I need to be ready to shoot right now.
Dude, how excited are you right now, man?
Actually, it's kind of like a matter of business kind of
Yeah.
feeling. Actually, I wish I had more of that. I get that after the shot for sure, you know.
Yeah.
But like in the moment, I'm just like, okay, it's time to use a super cliche, time to go to work, you know. But okay, so I'm zoomed out, and I'm looking center screen, thinking that there's going to be a deer. Let's see if we can get into that
Yeah.
frame again here.
So you lost sight of him when he went down to the creek.
Yes, and if I would have been paying attention, I would have known where he was. But I just assumed where. See, center frame. See that red grass?
Yeah.
There's a trail that comes through right there. I think that's the trail he's going to come in on.
And then if you saw him just a second ago, he was in the creek right over
in
there.
that creek right
there.
up
He
there.
is.
I just lucked out to be able to get this. You know, like he's in the frame, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
And you still haven't seen him, right?
No, I have no clue he's there. Still,
Behind that tree, kind of.
yeah.
Can't really see him.
Still don't know. Still don't know. And about right here, I see him. I'm like, oh my goodness.
And he's like, how far there?
He's 30 yards right there. He's 20 yards when he gets to this laid over log right here.
Oh my gosh, dude. This is
And he's right there. I'm
insane.
thinking about to draw and shoot, and then, oh
What?
my goodness, what are you doing? Yeah. So he's at like 12 right here, I think. Oh, golly,
Kick,
Wally,
man.
Mule Kick City, and
That's
there
a-
he goes running off.
Yeah.
He jumps the fence right there.
Man, it took work to.
You see him still out there.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't see him past when he jumped onto private, you know, but like in the camera, he's there. But that's the benefit of the follow with the camera is you can kind of learn some stuff.
Look,
That's a
you,
good feeling.
you could see that from the tree.
Yeah.
So that's why you zoomed in on it.
Yeah. It's pretty good feeling.
That's crazy, right? there. Like, normally you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to get down and look for blood. You know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good feeling for sure.
Oh. Yeah, I'm freaking out. Because this is cool. This is real cool.
This is just awesome.
I didn't bring my phone charger with me. And I didn't charge my phone before I went in the woods because I was like, I'll charge it when I get there. So my phone's on like, I'm listening for a crash, which is pretty futile because it's real windy.
Oh, you got fuzz in your ears too.
That's
so.
right. That's right, it was a giant.
Further back than what I wanted to. 10 yards, I mean.
So the reason I hit him further back, of course, I just didn't take my time with the shot like I should have. You and I are bad about this. It feels like forever, and then you watch it on film, and it's like
3.5 seconds.
if
Yeah.
that, you know. But like, I really couldn't go any further to the right with my bow without hitting the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, that's vitals. And if you think about it, I really would have liked to hit him further up in the shoulder.
In the triangle,
In the
kinda,
triangle,
yeah.
yeah. And I ended up
Here's the
actually,
shot right here.
yeah, I aimed for heart on a broadside deer, but he's actually fairly quartering to.
And it looks low.
Yeah.
It look right when just looking at it right there.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't.
it ended up being okay. Y'all know we found this deer, you know. So it's it's the suspense is kind of gone at this moment. But what's crazy is if you look over my shoulder right here, he's actually probably right out there dead.
Man,
it's nuts. Over my I guess my right shoulder there.
So yeah, so the shot, you couldn't really aim any further right, but we still looked at this footage and said, man, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
But we don't want to be overconfident, you know, because we've had some issues and we've you know seen what we felt like were good shots just turn up live deer. You know, it's like, what in the world?
Yeah, anything can happen with bow hunting.
It is.
It's one of the reasons we shoot heavier arrows because if nothing else, getting penetration and pass throughs always helps, right? So, looking back, there's not a lot I could have done a lot better in that, but I probably could have. At the same time, I didn't know how fast he was going to get out of there because we just saw him run. That freaked me out, right? Like I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, I'm about to shoot this thing.
Dude, you got when it's 12 yards and it's time,
you gotta let it go.
You just make it happen.
That's
You know what I
right.
mean? You just make it happen.
Yeah, and that's exactly kind of what I did. And then kind of went through this and didn't really know for sure what to do. You know, he went on private. And in some states you can and can't go, depends. And this is a state you can. So kind of regrouped, called Tyler and called my buddies and decided that he did need some time to sit just in case.
Feeling good right here,
Yeah,
though.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah, you
Lots
found the
of
arrow
blood.
or just the blood?
I mean, I could see the arrow from the tree, man.
Oh, really?
Stuck in the dirt, yeah.
There's
What is that white thing on my booty right there? Did you see that?
That's some TP.
Was it? Is my phone battery, my phone light on? You see that? And my phone light is on in my pouch.
Oh, well, that's
That's why my battery ran down. Doofus. Oh, I bet it's headlamp. I bet it's not my phone.
Oh,
Headlamps are
right.
always coming on in your
the
pocket.
worst, dude.
The worst.
You gotta make sure and carry extra batteries for your headlamps.
Yeah.
You don't have to walk 0.97 miles in the dark back to the truck.
It's rough.
Especially when there's no moon, it's overcast.
Yeah. But that was the only deer I saw that night until I got down out of the stand. But, gosh, it's hard for me to even talk during this because it's just, look at this dude. This is the best feeling.
Man.
Is whenever, I don't know if it's going to show up in this clip or not. Oh, right here. He turns, almost 90 degrees.
Jogging.
Yeah. That's when you know.
Dude, yes.
It's like,
You know that other buck that you rattled in we did a breakdown of in Texas on
Yeah.
public? He didn't do this.
No, I didn't
You know
grab my
what
bow with him. I was watching him.
I mean? Yeah. I love it.
Is it going to show the shot again right here? No, I guess not.
At some point,
Maybe ducks
probably.
coming in,
That's cool.
cupping in.
Some cold front birds right there. That's awesome, man. I just love wildlife.
That's good blood, man.
It is, man. That just looks good, and it was, But we were just at this point. We're like,
Yeah.
we're feeling good, right? But then we go back and watch footage.
Looks
of it.
low. I call a buddy who is kind of pessimistic about it, which he's probably just trying to, not fluff me up too much, which I appreciate, And here's what's tough is that, the blood kind of dissipates pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But it's a thing we've ran into before. When you shoot a deer that's kind of contorted, the holes in the hide are not where the holes are in the body cavity. So when they turn and go straight, it kind of seals that up. So they don't bleed near as much. And it's a really good, it's a good thing, a good proponent for wider cut broadheads. is what it is.
Yeah. See, I had just had an encounter with the big buck that I chased on my property all year this night.
It's crazy couple days right now.
For sure. First step down, and the giant was at 45 yards.
No way.
Yeah, and it was like right at shooting light.
The deer you were hunting was at 45 yards?
Just appeared, dude. It was real dark. I'm glad I didn't actually get him called in because I probably would have shot him after shooting light. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Who knows? It was right there at it.
It's either heart or liver. I'm pretty sure it's heart. Hey, get out of there. Freaking deer about to run me over here.
There was a buck chasing two does, and they ran like 10 yards from me on the ground.
They're running by you?
Yeah, like 10 yards.
That's
And I
weird.
decided to make noise so the buck wouldn't run out. You know,
So you didn't get
not that I'm
bored.
scared, but dude, they're hyped up, man.
I know, dude. It freaks me out sometimes. to
And them
think about.
Kansas bucks, they ain't messing around. They weigh more than I do, you know.
Your pants is thin.
That's right.
Red color. Liver would be deeper red, right?
I think, but I'm not an expert at this apparently. we're kind of like not sure about things at this point. Like dead going.
So there's not really just a cut and dry thing about the angle that deer are facing, right? You always think about quarter to or straight on or broadside, quartering away, but deer also do this. And that's
Yeah.
what my deer's doing right here in this frame, okay?
Yeah.
He is actually a little more broadside than what he looks because his rear end is quartering to, but his front end is going to turn. So he is really kind of broadening his body for me, and I hit. Since he's so close, I end up clipping the top of the near side lung. I hammer the offside lung, just center punch, and then rip the liver.
Man,
And this is your dad and our buddy Drew. They're helping with recovery. This is a lot of fun.
yeah. I wish I was there. I was headed up, but the big buck I was chasing actually showed up this morning at 8 on my property. I was like, oh, what an idiot.
Oh, here we go! So I told these guys, don't do any of that, like, oh, I've got blood, and actually have the deer. And Drew tried so hard, but he was smiling so big, I knew what was going on.
Dude, you know it's a big deer when them two get excited too.
Oh yeah, they hunt big deer. They
They
got
do.
a private place up there that has some toads on it. And
We show them bucks all the time, like video, like 130s, and they're like, oh yeah, whatever, they don't. If it's not big, they ain't excited.
Yeah. And then it hits me here. What's going on? That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is my first big deer, really. I've shot some decent bucks here in Texas and stuff, and had some close encounters and some misses and stuff in Kansas. So this one meant a ton to me. And honestly, like, I was at the point where if this didn't go good, I was like contemplating if I needed to be bow hunting or not, you know. And now I'm like, I'm the best bow hunter in the world for this season, you know. But,
For real.
you know, I was at a real low point in that truck interview earlier.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Dude, this is
Goofballs.
awesome. This is like, there's just nothing better than just celebrating with your friends, man.
I know, dude.
My dad's like, let's go get steaks.
And we ended up eating not steaks. We ate some Americanized Mexican food that was, it was good for me because I had a big deer in the back of the truck. But it was a fun hunt, man. Wish you would have been there for more of it, but you got to kind of come up and do some camp stuff with us at least, which was a lot of fun.
Quick turnaround though.
Yeah, no
I went
kidding.
back to hunt that deer the next morning.
You killed him in like 2 days later, right?
A week later.
Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't very long.
Yep.
But, so, you can always nitpick stuff or whatever. I will give you some of the good stuff, for sure, about, like, why this worked out. I think one of the big things for me, one of the huge things about killing this deer, one of the things that helped was that you and I talked on the phone a lot about where I needed to go in and hunt at this property, because I was thinking about hunting pretty close to the road because there was a ton of sign, and Tyler and I were talking back and forth about it, and just that confirmation of knowing like it's worth going in deep because there's going to be low pressure back there, right? And I think that helped a ton.
Yeah.
You can see this deer was hyped up. He didn't think 2 seconds about a human whenever he came in. You know, he was ready to go in there and whip some tail. You can tell he's been fighting, with the scars and stuff on his neck and the broke tines. I think the wind helps some, especially with access in this situation. And then I also think it helps with calling somewhat because that deer probably is a little confused as to where that call came from. Juxtapose that to the hunt breakdown we did where I rattled in too many bucks. Those deer knew within like a bedroom-sized area where that rattling came from. So they were looking, right? This deer, he just knew it's somewhere over there. So he didn't come and stand at the base of my tree looking for the deer. I mean, he was there for a second, but I assumed he would have kept on going if I hadn't.
Yeah,
taken
he
the
was
shot.
on the move, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, shot placement we talked about through the thing. You have any thoughts or anything about it?
Man, I think, like, to emphasize what you were saying, the like that confirmation of me saying, you know, this is a spot, and you saying this is a spot even before you went in, kept you from really questioning, you know, passing up all that sign. I think that's like, obviously going far in is a good thing, but also just like when the sign starts to dry up, you still knowing that there's a lot of great cover around. There's a lot of places deer can come from back in here. You know, still stand a pretty good chance.
And I think we're moving towards what I killed this deer on
23rd
of November. So you're on that downhill slope of the rut. It's still going, of course, with the way he's acting, but you can see that this deer is pretty thin. He's been rutting a whole lot, and you can tell that, I mean, it is brown, and that green stands out like new money out there, and those deer are going to be eating. So even if there's a ton of rut sign up there closer to the road, things are changing around November 23rd.
Oh, yeah.
And they're concentrating around that food, and I think that's probably a big reason why he was over there. I think he was either headed towards some old boy's corn feeder or going to loop back around into the wheat field I was sitting over or something like that.
Well, I mean, and deer, like, this time of year is when it really starts to get kind of bitter cold up there, you know? Like, you get late November, and all of a sudden, there's not too many, like, sunshiny, nice days anymore.
Yeah.
And you start getting to where you got these cold fronts coming in a lot, and then even the sunshiny days, it's like 50 as a high, and it was like 20-something that morning, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, it's just... It gets to the point where these deer have to feed heavy on stuff as we're getting to December. So I think like you're looking late rut. The great thing about it is, you know, deer are very much controlled by their stomach at that point, but they also are really amped up to get the rut on, you know.
So big points for this video is, don't be afraid to go way back and pass up sign to find big deer or to find the place that you really need to be hunting. And then also shot placement is probably a huge thing as well. I should have shot that deer up in the triangle of the shoulder. So like where his scapula and shoulder joint, you know, go forward like this, you're trying to shoot him in there. I shot him back here. Another thing we didn't really talk about much is you had a deer that got demolished by coyotes in a very similar situation, similar shot. 2 years before this, right? And that hunt is on YouTube. Check that out if you haven't. But I knew this deer was eaten alive, or not eaten alive, it probably died, but eaten completely. And then just somehow, you know, he wasn't, which is really awesome. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, we definitely were. We were very much afraid that was going to be the deal. But the thing is, and people maybe don't realize this, I mean, we've hunted years and years and years. We've had, between us, we got quite a bit of experience. I'm not saying we're experts, but we completely love eating wild game, and we do not want to waste any of it. We're not killing enough deer that we can just give them away during the year either. We take all the meat for ourselves. So, you know, this means a lot to us to have that, to have these deer, but it also, we understand certain situations, if you bump the deer, you may never see it again, and it may still die and get eaten by coyotes. So whether you know, leave it overnight or not, it's not just an easy situation to comprehend. Like, it's complex. So we try to make the best decisions we can. We talk it over with each other and our friends and everybody else in our circle and try to make good decisions.
Yeah, and I think overall that's a big point too, is like friendship helped a ton with everything, every part of this deal, you know, and that's kind of how we operate what we do. So guys, remember to lean on your friends when you need to, and remember, this is your element.
Live in it.